Yes. All right. It is 7 o'clock. We will call to order this evening's meeting. We will start with the roll call.
Councilman Becker.
Here.
Councilman Hartwick. Here. Councilman Johnson.
Here.
Councilman Schultz.
Here.
President Scheer.
Here. Next will be agenda item 3, public hearing. This evening we have none. Agenda item 4 is public comment. Just as a reminder, the city council will receive comments from city residents. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per individual. Anyone wishing to speak is required to sign up in advance or state the following items for the record when called upon. That would be your name, address, subject matter, and contact information. No action will be taken on any public comments unless the item is also elsewhere in the agenda. We have nobody signed up in person this evening. This will be a first call for public comment, either in person or via Zoom. This is a second call for public comment. This is a third and final call for public comment. Seeing none, hearing none, we will move right along to agenda item number 5, which is our consent agenda. Just as another point of reminder, the consent agenda that is outlined is presented for action by the city council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda on the request of any one council member. Items not removed may be adopted by one action without debate. Removed items may be taken up either immediately after the consent agenda or placed later on the agenda at the discretion of the council president.
I move to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All of those opposed say nay. That motion carries. Agenda item 6 is petitions, requests, and communications. This evening we have none. Agenda item 7 is resolutions and ordinances. We also have none this evening. Agenda item 8 is reports of officers, boards, and committees.
Thank you. I attended an Urban Alliance meeting on November 29th in Madison. This is a group of mayors and managers from within the League of Wisconsin Municipalities membership, representing cities over 10,000 in population. The group discussed the league's 2023-2024 legislative agenda, which is focused on reforming state shared revenue. I've talked about that before. There will be a resolution that we will have on the agenda for the city council to take a look at supporting that legislative agenda on the meeting on December 20th. There were several successful holiday special events on December 3rd in the city's downtown. So I just wanted to thank everybody who organized, helped, participated in those events. Brought a lot of people downtown and served as a great kickoff to the holiday season. On Monday, we welcomed Vanessa Leonard to the city's police department with a swearing-in ceremony. She comes to the city with many years of experience in the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, and we're very pleased to have her as part of our team as the first officer hired as part of the public safety referendum for the police department. Staff from our police and fire departments, as well as members of our management team, will participate in ICS training on Wednesday and Thursday at the fire department. We'll have hands-on training relating to emergency management, incident command, resource management, public relations, and logistics needed when our emergency operations center is activated in the unfortunate incidents where it might be activated. We are training for that on Wednesday and Thursday. And then on Friday, several members of the city's management team will be heading to Wausau for the day for a women's leadership seminar. Several members of the Chamber of Commerce will also be in attendance, so the city will be well represented up there. The seminar is focused on communication and effective leadership and is sponsored by the Wisconsin City County Management Association, WCMA. Also, just noting the city's boards and committees have been very busy recently. We had an airport committee meeting today. We've got a transportation committee meeting on Thursday, Plan Commission on Tuesday, Sex Offender Residence Board, Finance Committee, and License Committee all on Wednesday of next week. So we have a lot of upcoming meetings for other high school students to participate in if not everyone got in today. So and that's all I have today. So thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, unfinished business. We have none. Agenda item 10, new business. 10A is the review and possible action relating to 2023 small animal collection contract with the Humane Society of Jefferson County.
Thank you. The city has partnered with Humane Society of Jefferson County for many years. They provide collection services for small animals that are within the city limits. The Humane Society has proposed some changes to the services to reduce the overall cost of the contract. They also have felt some tight strings lately with some expenses rising, and they're trying to do the best that they can to keep those costs down for the municipalities that they work with. The cost for the contract is compared to the per capita, so population of 12,583 comes out to about $2.58 per resident for a total of $32,464.14. The Humane Society, they've always offered a discount should you pay the entire cost in January, which we've taken advantage of. The discount would be 1.5%. So this year, with council approval, we would pay the full discounted animal fee of $31,977.17, which shows a very nice savings of $486.96 for this year. I'd be happy to answer any questions. On the page 2 of the memo, we did provide a table to show the last 10 years of history. 8 years of history. Had to double check my counting there. Just to show the savings that we're able to accomplish. And then the per capita charges, if you've seen, it varies. 2016, it was down to $2.53. The highest we saw was $2.78, and that was in 2022. And again, they still offered a discount to us. So showing the cost from this year to the last year, it is down about $3,000. So we do appreciate the efforts that the Humane Society has taken, knowing that they are suffering just as much as any other business out there, and that they make their business off providing service to the city. So we do appreciate the partnership we have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I will just note that this contract represents a reduction in service, which is linked to the reduction in cost. So the Humane Society, they will not be providing regular pickup overnight any longer. They've been unable to staff that. And they have reached out to all their law enforcement partners in Jefferson County who supported the change, and will amend their own operations to accommodate any animals collected overnight.
Michelle, do you know, are they making this change with every municipality that they have a contract with, of
Yes.
removing that kind of on-call service?
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
And was there any direct feedback from our police department related to any concerns that they had about that change?
Not that I'm aware of. Manager Lemire, you mentioned that the Humane Society was in contact with all the police departments.
Correct. That includes our police department.
I
They're
know
supportive.
concerns from their end. Okay.
Correct.
So when an animal is collected, it goes where till it's ready for the Humane Society?
There's a couple options. We have kennels in our police department garage overnight, for overnight, or they could drop off I believe there's a drop off at the Humane Society building as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Or just curiosity for my sake, I know they mentioned a couple examples, but do we know how many of on-call, like during those on-call hours, how many pickups our city had last year?
I do receive a monthly report. I don't track those in a document, but I'm able to retrieve them if it's some information that we do want.
Just curious.
Again, a monthly report, I would say there's anywhere from 10 to 12 animals a month that are picked up.
But that includes during the date, that's total.
That's
not-
total.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
I think this change makes sense. It's a good contract. So we'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the 2023 small animal collection contract with the Humane Society of Jefferson County in the amount of $31,977.18 for the term of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, and authorize the city manager to execute said contract.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to agenda item 10B, which is the review and possible action relating to the approval of EMS billing contract for the fire department.
I am Chief Roush tonight. As of January 1st, the city's fire department will become the primary 911 EMS provider. And our ambulance billing and revenue collection will become a significant part of that department's funding. So we sent out a request for proposals to companies to provide that billing service to us. and we received one response from the company that we are currently using. That company currently charges us 17% due to the the low volume of billing, which means low revenue for them. So when you increase the number of bills, that decreases the service charge. So we were being charged 17%. We did attempt to negotiate directly with LifeQuest. We didn't get to where we wanted to be, so we did the request for proposals. We sent that out to 5 different companies as listed in the memo that you have in your packet. We did only receive one response, and that response was from LifeQuest for a continuation of our current contract structure with the service fee of 8% of collected revenues. So in the 2023 budget in our EMS fund, we estimated $695,000 in revenue from ambulance runs, charges for service and transports. We estimated the billing service fees to be between 8 and 9% of run revenue. So we budgeted $57,000 for that service in 2023. The proposal of 8% based on the run revenue of $695,000 is about $55,600, which is slightly below the budgeted amount. So staff does recommend that the city council approve the proposal from LifeQuest to provide ambulance billing services at 8% of revenue and authorize the city manager to execute the continuation of the current contract with that reduced billing rate. Be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if you recall back to when this was budgeted. But with the previous rate of 17%. And the estimated revenue, was it just like what other municipalities are paying closer to 8%? Like, how did we budget very close to that, knowing we were paying 17% at the time?
I'm just that good. Okay. No, that is based on what other communities of our size, what other departments of our size were paying, and my previous experience in my other municipalities based on the run revenue.
I'm just,
Oh, go ahead, Mason.
sorry. I'm just wondering if we know why these other companies expressed interest, but didn't submit any kind of formal proposal, just.
I can't answer that.
Can you just confirm, so you had said how that percentage essentially is based on that volume, and we are estimating it at the 695,000. If we are below that, are we locked in at that 8% regardless of what those revenues are, or could that potentially fluctuate if our revenues are lower than that 695?
No, we would be locked in at 8% for the contract.
Okay.
So they take the run volume that we are estimated. Okay, we estimated when we did the request for proposals. So we have the request for proposals in the packet.
Yep.
And that estimated a call volume of approximately 1,400 EMS responses per year, with about 1,100 transports. So based on that information, LifeQuest provided us with a rate.
Right.
And that rate was 8%.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't running the risk of that being closer to 17 if all of a sudden we weren't hitting those numbers.
I apologize if this was already mentioned or if I just missed it, but is this a 1-year contract or would this be ongoing?
I believe this is ongoing.
Okay.
But I will find that out.
Looking around before I jump in if there's other questions. I move to approve the proposal from LifeQuest to provide ambulance billing services at 8% of revenue and authorize the city manager to execute a continuation of the current contract with said reduced billing service rate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. 10C is the review and possible action relating to a public monument review for installation of a kayak launch located on the municipal boat launch.
Hey, good evening. Dakota Friend is going to come up. He has been to the planning commission for this review at their last meeting and had a short presentation for council. Planning Commission, this was well received at Planning Commission. And they approved it and moved it on here for your consideration. So Dakota, let me get the screen share working and then you can take it away.
So my name is Dakota Friend and I am a Boy Scout from Troop 147 and I'm currently working on my Eagle project which with approval would be installing or not installing purchasing and donating a kayak launch to the city of Fort Atkinson for public use at the municipal lot boat launch over here on Mechanic Street. So this is what the I think this is what the kayak launch looks like. So it is the same company that makes the dock that makes these pieces. So they connect with bow tie connection pieces to the existing dock that's already there. Oh, all right. So here are some site pictures of the boat launch. So my project would be donating it, and it would go right in this area right here. This is for a couple of reasons. First is that as you can see here, there are poles that stick into the ground that prevent the dock from moving. So this would be on the opposite side, which doesn't have any, so would not interfere and would not have to put in any extra support. And then there are these little guide bars here for the visually impaired, and the connection pieces go underneath them. So it would not interfere with any of that either. So they can still safely walk and feel the edge of the dock. And here's a blueprint I drew up with dimensions on it. As you can see right here is the spot where it would be connected. It would be connected to this piece of the dock right here. It wouldn't connect right here. And it's basically just a ramp that allows boaters to put their kayak on and slide it into the water and then be able to come back out and be able to get in and out of their kayak fairly easily. And it would be connected with 4 different bow tie connection pieces. And then lastly, for the project is I would put up a sign that would have my name, the date it was established, and the list of all the sponsors who helped fund the project. And here are a couple options right next to the boat launch at the site that they could be installed.
Just curious, what gave you the idea to do this particular project?
Well, I'm a part of the Advanced Blackhawk Boaters Club here in Fort Atkinson, and I just enjoy boating, and this seemed like a good idea to help recreational boaters to be able to get in and out of the water fairly easily.
Cool.
How are you fundraising for the project?
I will be sending. I've already got some people interested in donating, and I will be reaching out to local businesses. One big one, especially being Two Rivers right over here, fairly close. Yeah. So.
What's your timeline, or do you have, I'm assuming, some sort of deadline to be able to complete your project?
It was I don't have an exact date, I don't believe, but they will be donated before the docks are installed next year. So early in the spring. So
Are you allowed to share how much you need to fundraise for this?
it's right around $1,500.
Okay.
Might be a question for Andy. Are we assisting in the ordering process at all to ensure that it is going to match up with our current docking system?
I think we'll make sure that we're engaged there. But from what we've talked with Dakota about, he's met with Tom, who manages those docks. We've got a company now that's taking them in and out for us. So far, the specs have identically the same manufacturer and everything. We should be in shape, but when we actually purchase things, we'll make sure we double check before we get some stuff on the ground.
And no concerns from your end about ongoing maintenance costs or anything like that related to it?
No, these docks are pretty bumpy.
Okay, great.
I think it's a great project, and I think you made a great presentation, so I'll make the motion to approve the request for a public monument review, allowing the installation of a kayak launch on a municipal boat launch by Eagle Scout Dakota Friend.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Dakota.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
10D is the review and possible action related to an emergency replacement and rebuild of digester blower number 2 at the wastewater utility.
So the first item tonight is was unplanned. We have 3 digester blowers that provide air to our aerobic digestion system. Blower 1 is an older blower that has been in place since 1992. And it serves our digester tank number 1, which is more or less a holding tank for biosolids before they're processed. And then digesters 2 and 3 each have their own paired blower that provides air. They were installed in, I think, 2012 and 2013. And digester blower number 2 had it failed last or 2 weeks ago. And we had normal, check sensors. We replaced the sensor that we thought was an oil pressure sensor. Wasn't that. We contacted the manufacturer, worked through troubleshooting, and it turned out it had a major failure of the oil pump, which is built into the blower. It's not as separate like on a car where it has a oil pump that's separate or anything like that. It's actually built into the body of the blower. So not repairable other than a complete rebuild. Because of the way those blowers work with their digesters, they're, as I said, paired with 1 blower, 1 digester. We did install cross connection piping years ago in the event of a failure. It's not how it was originally designed. But we wanted to be able to get air from 1 blower to another tank if we had to, and we have to. So right now we're splitting air with our digester blower number 1 among the 2 blowers or 2 digesters to get us by, but that's not a long-term solution. So we contacted the manufacturer. They stock blower cores, which is the main part of the blower. These are large enclosures. I should have included a picture, but they're very large rectangular enclosures that are about 7 feet tall by about 12 feet long for sound attenuation. They come apart. The actual blower motor and the blower are inside of that. So we are just replacing the blower core part of it. Total price would be about probably twice or more what we have for replacement. So they offered us, for the quickest solution to this is to get a replacement blower. It's a brand new core. And that's the one price I have. And then the other price would be for if our blower is rebuildable, it will be rebuilt. And then we'll have that back. The other blower is only a year newer. We expect it to, again, so they have about 2,000 hours difference in total hours. I think around 73,000 hours and right around 71,000 hours. So it's probably not far behind. Manufacturers' experiences that, we'll probably get another year or so out of that one. They really have a life expectancy of about 7 to 10 years. We're really going on 11 years with that one. So we've gotten a good life out of them. So we're working directly with the manufacturer. They gave us the price for the core replacement, and that's at $64,408.65. And then if that blower that comes out will go back to the factory, it can be rebuilt. And hopefully it can, it'll be the $26,107.82 unless there's something unusual with parts. That's their pretty much their factory price for rebuilding those blowers. So we recommend that we purchase those. We've got them on order already, actually, because we didn't have, time was of the essence. Did not have time to wait with this. Hopefully the blower will be here this week and we'll be replacing starting Monday. And the other one will go back to Pennsylvania to the manufacturer for rebuilding. The total cost, did I add them up? Well, $64,408.65 for the new blower, and then $26,107.82 for the rebuild. Both of them from Atkinson USA Corporation from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
Is this pretty much like manufacturer specific equipment that you can't really bid this out to other organizations?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, they're blower housings, as I mentioned, are large, sound attenuated, and the core themselves is just, it's the blower itself is inside of that housing.
Okay.
And we're working directly with the manufacturer. So they do have a local representative, but we've always worked directly with them when we get parts and all those things for just normal maintenance items and that. So.
You mentioned these normally like wear out after a certain period of time. So then I assume like this is budgeted, you budget some of this repair cost.
Well, depending, if we would have if we'd have wanted to put this in the CIP and plan for the replacement, we probably would have replaced them 2 or 3 years ago. We have enough funds in our equipment replacement fund that to cover these kind of costs. By waiting, it ends up being unplanned, but you also get another 2 to 3 years out of a piece of equipment that you wouldn't have had you just planned to replace it. So it's a fine line with things. Most of the time, when we're looking at replacing something in CIP, it's age, it's usually parts availability, and it's maybe because we're looking at a different technology that's better and more efficient than what we're currently using. So that's when we usually utilize CIP. Or if we're doing like a major project like we're doing now, and we're replacing things as part of that. So typically, that's why DNR requires us to have an equipment replacement fund, is for these large items like this.
Well, speaking of that, so this 90,000 or so that would come out of that, do you know where that leaves your balance on the replacement fund? And is there any concern about that at all?
I don't know the exact balance right now, but it's not a concern. No, we have much more than that in there. And we put $400,000 per year in the equipment replacement fund.
I move to authorize the purchase of the blower replacement core, including installation and startup for the cost of $64,408.65 as an emergency purchase, and to authorize the rebuilding of blower number 2 for the cost of $26,107.82 from Atkinson USA Corporation of Coatesville, Pennsylvania at the wastewater treatment facility.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
All right, thank you.
10E is the review and possible action relating to septage pump number 1 and associated piping replacement at the wastewater utility.
This is a perfect example actually of a planned CIP item. So we had $40,000 budgeted this year for the replacement of our septic pump number 1. Originally that the tank and this pump that serves that storage tank was originally designed for holding tank and septic tank waste that is being hauled into the plant from outside the rural community. Because of the size of the tank only being 11,000 gallons, it never really worked out that well for that. It did when we only had maybe a few trucks coming in a day, but we have had quite an increase from that. So what we're using that tank for was for specialty waste. A former company in the city here was one of the uses for an onion waste that they had. It was a very low pH. And we pumped it back into the plant slowly with those pumps. But because of the low pH, very corrosive liquids, it took its toll on those pumps. We replaced one of those pumps already about 8 years ago. We've actually since that time rebuilt that pump with coated stainless steel parts. But now we've found in this case new technology that's just better for pumping that type of liquid. It's called peristaltic pump or a hose pump. So it's completely non-contact. It uses rollers that squeeze a hose that pump the liquid. So the liquid is always contained in that hose. Right now, we're using it for sweet corn silage leachate that we get from a local farm that we actually use to our advantage for our biological phosphorus removal. So we had planned to replace this pump. We have three prices for pumps. We have a price from William Reed Limited for an LSM pump at $17,547. We have a pump supplied by Dryden Equipment inverter pump for $43,750, and then a pump from LAI Limited, a Bradle pump at $29,600. Quite a wide range of prices with that. We were a little concerned at that. So we made a lot of phone calls, a lot of references. The LSM pump is made in Denmark. Has a very good reputation. I've seen it before at our national shows. We got several references from them that we called, mostly ag, very heavily used pieces of equipment in the places that they're being used, and they couldn't say enough good things about them. So we were pretty comfortable with the price of that pump. Why more? I guess more of the question would be, why are the other ones so much? It is a very simple pump when you look at it. We did our homework. We're not afraid of that low price, and we recommended the purchase of that pump from LSM and William Reed Limited for the $17,547. Installation is another thing. So we planned initially just to replace some of the piping, some of the suction piping, some of the discharge piping for these pumps. We've had piping we've had to replace before because it's, again, the same corrosive material. So it would have been easily be able to be done in that $40,000. But because of the current bypass that's going on, right now we are bypassing all our influent piping. It's all accessible for us to do pretty much whatever we want. So it just made sense to have the contractor. There's move the connection that we have now for the discharge, replace some other connections that are no longer being used. Replace all the piping all the way to the and valves all the way to their discharge point. So that was going to cost quite a bit more, but it's kind of a once in a lifetime thing. It's something that we would have to do another bypass to do, and we won't do that for another 50 years probably. So we got two prices for the install and then the replacement of the suction and discharge piping. One from Sable Mechanical they're from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin for $52,192.30, and then a price from Staub Construction for a not to exceed price of $40,000. I didn't ask them to provide a not to exceed. They offered that. The other company did not. Staub is on site, obviously doing our phase 2 project right now. So they have quite an advantage in mobilization and things like that. They have people on hand already. They have a small projects group that would also be working with this, but they'll obviously utilize people they have here and equipment they have here that they don't have to bring anything down. So we're more than comfortable with their price for $40,000, and we would recommend going with them for that price. Obviously, we only had $40,000 budgeted. That would be from the CIP. The $17,547 over would come from our equipment repair fund, or one of our accounts that we have for just regular equipment repair. That is only at, well, at least, well, it's probably, that was when I looked it up last week. It was at $36,500 remaining. So this, obviously we have more than enough. We're almost to the end of the year. So it shouldn't be a problem. This might actually, some of this work will carry over into next year just because it'll take that long to get the pump. But some of the work they're going to be doing on the piping part of it as soon as possible. So. Any questions on that long explanation?
That extra or that kind of additional 17,000 above the quoted CIP, I'm assuming most of that is kind of that additional work that you talked about.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I mean,
it's for the additional piping,
right.
right?
Would you
And-
say that that is ultimately a cost savings versus if and when that would have needed to be done down the road otherwise, as opposed to doing it now?
Yeah, if it would have been something like if we would have had a, corrosion that causes almost a catastrophic type of failure, where we would have had to shut off and would not be able to use those pumps. And it would have to wait till, parts of it would have had to wait till we could do a bypass. Or at least, work with them to shut pumps off and then work and shut pumps, turn them back on, back and forth like that, where we've had to do things like that before. But the access we have right now, like I said, is just it's a 50 years, we've never had a bypass like this, so just made sense.
Well, I think you've made a good case here and you could. Makes sense. So I'll move to approve the purchase of a septic pump and associated piping replacement for $17,547 from William Reed Limited and the installation of such by Stop Construction for amount not to exceed $40,000 for a total of $57,547 at the wastewater treatment facility.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Thank you for providing the various quotes in the packet. Good to know that we're competitively quoting out work and submitting requests for proposal or bid from other organizations so that we can, drive the best value to the residents and taxpayers.
Thank you.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. 10F is the review and possible action relating to a certified survey map for the property located at 309 Bluff Street in the city of Fort Atkinson.
Thank you. This is a consolidation of the St. Paul's campus on the east side of Bluff Street. They're going to be adding a new gymnasium to that existing building. And as part of that review through the planning commission, they cleaned up some of the lot lines that they have within that property. I think there's 3 different parcels in there, if I'm not mistaken, that they have combined into a single parcel. This is what we would like to see. Cleans up a somewhat confusing situation and puts it into nice straight lines, which we all love in city government. Planning commission took a look at this and had no concerns. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council might have on this issue.
Do you want to mention at all what this project will support?
Yeah, that's a good point. So the project itself is an addition of a gymnasium off the west or the back side of the St. Paul's school, which is on the east side of Bluff Street. They're going to be, I think it's 2 floors. I think there's a gymnasium kind of on the lower section and a bit of a balcony, if you will, around the top part of it. And the exterior has gone through planning commission, is going to conform with our zoning code. So it'll be a nice addition within that established neighborhood. It'll look good from the outside. And that was very important to both city staff and St. Paul's too. Some of the landscaping around the area is going to be cleaned up a bit, some old fences removed and updated, just kind of good neighbor type stuff, I would say. And then we looked at some of the stormwater issues, as Bluff Street is a hill in town, and so water runs downhill. And just wanted to make sure that this building project didn't have any adverse impacts on the neighboring properties. So all of that went really well with St. Paul's and was well received by the planning commission as well.
That's an easy one. I move to approve the certified survey map for the property located at 309 Bluff Street, city of Fort Atkinson.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Agenda item 11 miscellaneous. This evening we have none. Agenda item 12 claims appropriations and contract payments. 12A is the review and possible action relating to the verified claims presented by the Director of Finance and authorization of payment.
Move to approve the list of verified claims presented by the Director of Finance and to authorize payment.
Second.
Motion and a second. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Schultz,
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye, that motion carries. Agenda item 13 is the city council may consider a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to state statute 19.851E to deliberate or negotiate the purchasing of public properties. And we will continue into through closed session. Let's see, how do you want me to do that? You want me to take one and another? Or you
No,
want them both?
just saying both and then the motion.
Okay.
can-
We will continue in closed session pursuant to state statute 19.851E to conduct other specified public business where the competitive reasons require a closed session, i.e. to negotiate a taxi service contract, and we will not be coming back out into public session.
I move to adjourn into closed session pursuant to state statute 19.851E to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public properties and to remain in closed session pursuant to state statute 19.851E to conduct other specified public business where competitive reasons require a closed session, i.e. to negotiate a taxi service contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
Councilman Schultz,
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye. This meeting will now move into closed session. Thank you, everybody, for attending.